Doesn't matter.
Resuming Nerd World Order broadcast. Dynaphones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I'm the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah, what's up? It's your boy Joe, baby.
And to my other right, weighing 178 adamantium-filled pounds, coming straight out of Krakoa, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Yep.
Yep, that's right. I have no idea what that is in reference to. I'm sure it has something to do with the topic that we'll be having today, which is we are going to be discussing The Last Airbender live action on Netflix. I watched this because Joe watched it. That's as simple as it goes. Joe was talking to us in our Nerd World Order broadcast chat, and he said, "Hey there, fellas. I'm watching this. You need to also." What he didn't say was, you need to experience my pain too. So, thanks, Joe. I went in with very little expectations. I have not watched the show, Last Airbender. I hadn't watched the M. Night Shyamalan movie until today in preparation for this episode. I got my prep time in, almost like I'm Batman, but apparently prep time didn't help much. So, I am ready to have this conversation. Alfonso, what were your expectations going into this?
Well, I was really excited about it. I watched the Avatar: Last Airbender with my daughter. I watched Korra, the whatever she was, and we really had a good time and bonding over it. So it brought back a lot of good memories. I'm not sure how much I paid attention because it's like some of the things I'm like, whoa, I have to go back. So Nate and I actually just started watching the animated version again, and maybe after that all said and done, we might have them watch the live action. But there were some people being burnt to death, and I'm not sure how well that'll go for an 8-year-old, but we'll see.
Joe, you're our resident anime expert. What say you?
Well, because I'm an expert. That isn't an anime; it's a cartoon. So
I'll see there. You're already ahead of the.
there's
You're
a
already ahead of the
difference.
pack.
So, as far as a cartoon goes, I mean, I enjoyed watching the cartoon, but the live action, the one thing about whether it's a cartoon to live action or anime, I don't go into it thinking it's any good because the live action versions are never good, except for One Piece. That's probably like the only one that went worldwide. Everyone was just like, man, that's how bad live actions animes are. That when you see one that's actually good, you're like, man, this is really good.
Evolution.
Which one?
Evolution.
Yeah, we don't count that, bro. That's like a bootleg Taco Bell of Dragon Ball Z. You know what I mean? Like, hey, let's go get Mexican food. Nah. Is there a Taco Bell in Mexico? Is there a Taco Bell around here? You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, bro. There's nothing authentic about that. But the first 10 minutes of that live action Avatar Netflix series, I was like, man, very impressive. Special effects. I was like, man, this is going to be good. And then what happened to the special effects? I have no idea. So I don't know if they spent all their money in that first 10 minutes, but like I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like when the airbenders were fighting the fire because of the smoke, that's why it looked blurry. Because of the fire and the air, and it created a lot of the choppy, blurry things. I'm gonna hope that they did that on purpose because of the fire and the wind of it, but it looked really bad. The acting, oh my god, the acting was terrible. Now they did get a lot of people. It seemed like they focused on people that look like the characters, which I think they're pretty close on some of them, but unfortunately they can't act. And so the dialogue of the acting was so bad, I fast forward through a lot of parts that were slow for me just because the acting wasn't that good. Now, they did a lot of changes from the cartoon. However, I enjoyed the cartoon, but I'm not gonna compare it to the live action series because um I don't really care as much. Like that they don't follow, which a lot of hardcore fans are upset that they change a few stuff within the show. I don't really think it's that important for me per se, but I know I'm bashing it, but it's okay. It's not really good and it's not really bad, but it's decent. Like if you're not watching, if you never watch any Airbender at all, you could watch this and be fine. You just got to get past the acting. But I think if they come out with another season, hopefully they can take acting classes, have better chemistry between them, because it seemed like it was kind of like robotish at times. But yeah, that's just my few cents.
And this concludes this episode. No, I'm kidding. But Joe pretty much nailed it right there, man. He's that's it. That's all you need to know. I to Joe's point, I didn't go in with any expectations. I didn't know the storyline. The storyline was moving fine for me. I often say that I don't really care for TV shows or movies that have, I'll say, kids or teenagers, especially teenagers, good God, as the lead actors and actresses because very rarely can they act. And I really feel like, hey, I'm just going to be like, and like Joe said, when I kept looking at the characters, I was like, okay, this is this character. Let me pull it up online. Wow, this guy looks like the character. Oh, wow, this person looks like the character. But I was like, but young Aang can't act very well. And he's supposed to be like carrying this. And he's just like, it's like he was reading the lines, but he was like, hello, my name is Hank. And it's like, that's a complete sentence, kid. There's not two periods in that sentence. It's a single sentence. Okay. So yeah, you could start anywhere with this. Now, I will say, like Joe said, I'm just going to have a clip. Like Joe said, put that on a t-shirt. Like Joe said,
Hey, I'm
um,
okay with that, dude. That'd be a dope ass shirt, dude. I'm okay with that. Hey, book it, dude. Book it.
hey, my brothers and sisters at UPS is going to be online come this Monday, like Joe said. Just pull the Browns apart, like Joe said. Okay, like Joe said, this this show was like started off good. I wasn't too offended by it, but overall, it was just like, hey, it's a show. I was confused at the end. I was like, is this the end? Oh, I guess this is the end because it stopped. And I was like, but this end isn't even a cliffhanger. Maybe if you saw the cartoon, not the anime, apparently, like Joe said, then you would be like, oh, I know what's coming next. Therefore, I am excited. Kind of like they do in a Marvel movie where it's like, the wife leans over and she's like, who's that? And you're like, well, let me tell you about Blade. Okay, you don't hear Blade, you don't see him, but off screen, there's Blade. And see, this person has a sword and that's Blade's sword. It's kind of like that with Avatar, where, like Joe said, if you understand what's going on, perhaps it improves it or it makes it worse. But that ending, I was like, I don't get it. Like, I get it. Like it's like if you read a story and you're like, this happened, but why'd you make me read this story? That was the ending. That was like the final where they're like, oh, okay, but we got this. Everything you saw for the past 8 episodes, the 8 hours of your life, or 7 hours and 15 minutes of your life, that didn't matter because that was all a secret plot.
It
It's
was like a Nicolas Cage ending to his to the movies that he be putting out. It gets to the end, you're like, so what happened? But like it's a bad sign too. The writers, they left really early, and so it scared a lot of a lot of fans. Because what made One Piece so successful is Oda was like really involved in the whole project, and some of the rewrites that he did, he was okay. Because like with him, it's when you write something and it's like dang near 10 years plus, right? That I think it's like 20 or something like that. But you think back and you're like, oh, I would do that. I would do it differently. And that's
Mhm.
what he did on some of the stuff on that one piece is pretty dope. But when you don't have the writers involved, and you could tell like some of the stuff that they change is it, the writers is like, yo, I'm out, dude. I'm not gonna be a part of this, dude, because that's not how I written. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like with the actor, I think they were more focused on getting people that look like the characters because Walker Scobell, the guy from Adam Project, is a really good actor and he blows everybody on that cast away. And like he was really young when he came out in like uh with Ryan Reynolds and the Adam
Mhm.
Project,
Yeah.
and he's a really good actor as a kid too. Like you totally believe it, like he's a Ryan Reynolds clone.
Yeah, it just didn't work. I mean, great that, the people look like him. I wasn't bothered by the whole blurry scenes with the I didn't notice any blurry scenes
Yeah, we
in the
watch it, bro.
beginning.
Now that I told you, go rewatch it. Oh, that's what he's talking about.
I started off watching it on like the first few episodes I watched it in my guest room, and so the TV is kind of far away and it's not the biggest TV. So
Yeah,
maybe that's why I didn't notice it.
yeah. You were probably on your phone. I was on my phone playing Marvel Snap.
I probably was. But like I said, I didn't hate it. It was
Yeah, that's
just
what's weird,
okay.
right? It was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the first 5 episodes,
Hmm.
I was kind of bored.
Yeah.
But then the last episodes, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. It's picking up. They're starting to go somewhere."
Hmm.
But then that last episode, or maybe it was episode 7, I kind of felt like it lost its momentum at that point. No, it was episode 8 where okay, I got to ask this question. Yes, I'm jumping around, but it's like ding. I just have a question for Joe because you're the expert on this cartoon because it's not an anime. Um Soka, I don't know his name. Soka. The ice benders or the water bender's brother. Does he really have a romantic interest every other episode and then that young lady just disappears? Does that really happen on the cartoon?
Yes, it does. But also in the cartoon, he's more like a womanizer, and they
Ah.
changed that. That's why it doesn't make sense to you, because you know how he goes from that one girl to the next girl.
Mhm.
Is the biggest part of his development towards the end of the cartoon is his womanizing and the way how he acts changes by the end of the series. He becomes a man and he doesn't do that anymore. But because you don't really see that because they change it because of this culture, like you can't do that, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it looks funny when you see that. To your point, you're like, does that really happen? Because it looks funny. But if you know his character, you'd be like, oh yeah, he's a womanizer. He wants to have a girl. He flirts with them, and that's his whole character. And you can tell that that's not the way. Again, that's probably why the producers or the writers was like, deuces, I'm out. I can't. That's not the
Yeah.
way I written. That's not the way I wrote this character.
Alfonso, feel free to jump in the double dutch at any time. Uh,
Well, I mean, I really can't join the bashing party. Um, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
I didn't think the acting was bad. I mean, they're kids. Sometimes kids are a little like the Aang character. He had more of a childlike innocence because he's much younger than the other two. So, but he also had wisdom because he had so much training and knowledge from the Airbender Temple. So, I don't know. It didn't bother me so much. I mean, maybe I'm just too forgiving about things, but
Yeah, you are. The only time you're not forgiving, bro, is if they were older.
fine. Yeah, if
Because if
they're
they're older, bro, it'll be a different discussion. But the younger guys that can't act are really good for you, though.
no. What it is, it's when
But the
when they're
older guys
too
that
old.
can act, you're like, he's
When
too old.
when they're too old, it's hard for them to commit to being in a project for 10 years. That's the only issue I have with the older people.
Bro, in 10 years, you
Uh,
will not look older than you look now. So that argument that you're saying doesn't
Me, but
apply.
I'm not 65. I'm not 75.
But
That's
dude,
what I'm talking about.
they're in their 50s. I think Hugh Jackman's in his 50s, bro. He's our age.
Dude, he's too old.
No, he's not, bro, because he still looks young.
I don't care. He's too tall. But
You're never
regardless,
they're always gonna do that, bro. You're never
oh,
gonna find a short Wolverine. I'm sorry.
I'm sure they will. They need
No,
to,
you
they
won't.
need to make it right.
They don't care about you. They're not gonna make it right. It's Marvel.
Okay. All right. Well, to each his own.
Yeah.
But anyways, so my only real complaint about the show is that there was a lot of character development in the cartoon that
Mhm.
they had to kind of skip over for the show because they only had 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 10 would have probably done a little bit better. I mean, or they could have split it up a little bit more. But my concern with this is like, even if they're going to go forward with this, because a lot of it's riding on how well this does, if they go forward with it, you got these kids who are going to be aging rapidly, right?
I agree.
And especially where you have Aang, who's such a young kid, and you have
Mhm.
Sokka, who's like 16. You got 12 and 16-year-old. There's a big difference there. So they're just going to start like looking the same. They're going to be in their 20s playing a 12-year-old. It's
Mhm.
just, I don't know how they're going to be able to pull this off unless they're
Mhm.
filming everything back to back to back to back, and they can't do
Yeah.
that, so they get the go ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that goes.
Well, the voices are gonna change like Dookie's.
Oh, big time! They're gonna be like, "Oh, I got a cold. I got a cold." Nope.
Yeah.
You just brought sexy back. It was
Yeah.
gone, and then you brought it
Yeah.
back.
Aang's gonna come out sounding like Vin Diesel. I'm the Avatar. Yeah. Whoa. What?
They come out back all yoked. And he's,
Yeah. But you're right though. They did rush it. They cut out a lot of stuff.
yeah.
To get to because there's that one scene when he's with the the
King
fire,
of the
when went to
Earthbenders.
go. Nah, like he went to the Fire Lord,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and right then and there he told him like, "Oh, dude, the comet." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or no, no, I'm sorry, no, it wasn't that. It was I think you're right. It was the earthbending avatar that he went to go see.
Right.
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 And
Kyoshi.
she was like, yeah, she was like, "Oh, you gotta go," and because they're gonna attack the water temple. Like they did everything fast. And
Mhm.
so like they skipped the story to the part where they get there and then it happens to where he needs to get there now,
Yeah.
you know?
Dude, those Kyoshi warriors were baddies though, man.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
was funny to see Sokka come in there and like keep up with them. I'm like,
Mhm.
whoa. I did like what they did with Katara though. Like, she's like, I need a master. I need somebody to teach me, but she's like picking everything up on the fly. She's having to learn it. And then finally, like when nobody wants to train her because she's a woman, it's like she can only do the healing. She's not supposed to be doing the fighting. Dude, when she's like challenged that she challenged the master to the combat, I was like,
Yeah.
dude, that's good. And I totally forgot about the cartoons. I had to go back and
Mhm.
watch that. But man, that was a
Yeah.
really good turning point. Like even her hair, like when it came out
Mhm.
of her braids and everything, so she looked more womanly. It's like,
Yeah.
dang.
When Suki took off her makeup, I was like
Exactly.
I was like, "Oh, and don't come after me, bro. She's 24, dude. You
She
guys
is
aren't
what
mad.
nope.
You guys aren't mad when Leonardo DiCaprio does it."
Actually, they are mad when he does it, but you know what? Joe gets this one. He can do it if he wants.
Feels like I looked it up first. She's 23.
Hey,
We're
bro.
good.
Yeah, bro. 24.
24.
Years it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as Alfonso's talking about that, so basically what I'm hearing is that Katara is the Rey Skywalker of the Waterbenders
Yeah,
because
pretty
she doesn't
much.
get any
Yeah.
training and she
No.
just advances on her own.
Yes.
But
Uh-huh.
she does have, she kind of siphons off Aang a bit. So she could
Mm.
feel the power more because she has such a close kinship to him that it's able to flow through her more rapidly.
So have you watched the cartoon at all, Alan?
No.
So the water, when shoot, I'm so bad at names. What's that guy's name? When Zuko captures him,
Mhm.
there's a fight scene on that boat where he goes into the Avatar state,
Right.
and you're like, that's when he starts with the Avatar. They deleted that scene, and you know who saved him instead? Dun da da da, Katara with their little water bending stuff. So it's like, come on, dude. Like if you want to focus, and I'm okay with this. Check this out.
Yeah.
If you want to empower a woman and take the lead, because if you look at the casting online, she's the star, not Aang.
Oh,
Like if you look at it, so like if you're looking at it like right now, she's in front, not Aang. Well, it's not her story.
right.
She's not the main character. You see what I'm saying? If you want to do that, why don't you do Korra? Do a
Right.
Korra avatar. and then there you have it, and you don't have to change anything to put a woman ahead in the lead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which she was a big part. Don't get me wrong, she's a big part of the story, but she's not the main part of the story. It's Aang, right?
Right.
And so there's just like simple mistakes that you catch. Like in the beginning, he's flying, right?
Oh, what was that about?
Okay, so if he's flying, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So when they he throws a fireball and then his thing becomes a staff, he's falling. Why isn't he flying?
Right.
And don't tell me there was no wind because the wind is what's pushing that little flying gadget that he has. He's flying, but who catches him? You see what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like little mistakes like that that I think when they don't think about if you're watching it. Like, if I'm doing a TikTok, I'm rewatching it. If I don't like something, I'm reshooting it. If I spell the captions wrong, I'm gonna change it, right? Because you can forget words or letters and read it over and over again. I feel like they just put this out and just think we're stupid and just don't care about little details like that.
Yeah.
Where Marvel has done and DC have done so bad. All we're doing is critiquing a little small thing. you
Yeah. It's
know?
like they tried to make Aang into Storm. Flying without the little wing thing that he has.
So in the cartoon, can he fly?
No.
No, he uses his staff like that turns into like a glider.
He can
Oh,
manipulate the wind, and the wind
Yeah,
is what helps the glider go, and he can change direction
yeah.
easily.
Mhm.
But on his own, he can't. He doesn't have enough drag to lift himself up. Even though I guess he should be able to because he is a lot more powerful. But
I mean, he really does at the end of the cartoon, like he's in the air, like with the wind. I mean, you could do that stuff,
yeah,
but in the
the fire.
cartoon, he's not. He's using the glider to fly,
Yeah,
and
like the
then he
firebenders.
does do. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the firebenders. They can shoot fire to propel themselves. Kind of like
Yeah,
Iron Man, but
yeah.
they're not
mhm,
necessarily flying.
right.
But they can't do that little ball like how he did, and
Mhm,
he does that in the cartoon where he's gliding with
Mm,
the little ball in the air. He does that, but the thing that they did was the fire fight with the airbenders. That was pretty cool to
mhm.
see.
Yeah,
Special effects could be better in my opinion, but it was cool to see that because in the cartoon they didn't show that.
that's right. They only alluded to it, and it's
Mhm.
surprising too because they're saying that they spent more money per episode than they did on Game of Thrones, and the production of Game of Thrones was like far superior.
How is that possible, dude? There's no way. Maybe in
It's
that
because
first 10 minutes.
maybe.
yeah. It's kind of like what we were talking about a little bit earlier, which is I feel like movie studios just make up numbers
Right.
and
Mhm,
and then they can be like, "Oh, this cost $1 billion, but we didn't make all of that back. So guess what? It's a loss." But we had an additional like half million subscribers because people wanted to watch the show.
Right.
So they make money back, but then they're like, "Oh, but it costs so much to make." I just think all the numbers Hollywood puts out
mhm.
now are just garbage.
Yeah.
Especially with streaming services because they don't really have a way to track that, like Nielsen's or ticket sales or anything. Because
Yeah.
whoever has Netflix, and it's
Mhm.
like they're not doing anything extra.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they can track the streams, but they
Yeah.
don't release the data on the
No.
streams.
Mhm.
So
So they can say
You
whatever
know.
they want, right?
Yeah. Which is just really smart if you think about it, because
Yeah.
not that they would get to the point where they would lie and
Mhm,
say something's a
mhm.
hit if it's not,
mhm,
but they might say like, it didn't do as well as it did, or
mhm.
it did
Yeah.
better, and we're not going to know.
Mm,
I got a question for you guys, right? Back to Soka. To me, it didn't make any sense why it seemed like he would instantly just fall in love with these women, as opposed to, now that Joe explains it, he's a womanizer. So, but he doesn't flirt with them in the live action. So
mhm,
it's just like he looks at them and he's instantly in love. So
mhm.
I was like, why does my boy just fall in love? I mean,
Yeah.
granted, the girls were pretty,
Mhm.
they were all over 18. We've established all that.
Yeah.
But I get it, they're pretty, but
Mhm.
my man hops from town to town just falling in love, and then boom, he's gone.
Yeah.
And then he's never heartbroken. That's what I didn't understand either.
Right.
Based on me watching the show, I was like, my boy's
Yeah.
not heartbroken because the warrior girl with the fans.
Chaos
Mhm.
Like,
Warrior.
to
Yeah.
Joe's point, like, I would have been a bit heartbroken if I had to leave, you know?
Yeah, that's where they skipped a lot of those episodes that you see those in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's you know what? I know it sounds like we're bashing it, but I'll tell you this: it's better than that movie. It's better than Cowboy Bebop.
I didn't see Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah,
Preach.
you
I did
don't.
I did watch Avatar today,
Yeah,
just to, the M. Night Shyamalan,
yeah,
and it's better than that.
yep.
Yeah, like, I
But the
was wa
special effects were better. But you could tell, like, M. Shannon, like, well,
Mhm.
for its time, you got to remember for its time.
Oh,
For its time, it was good special effects, and that was the biggest thing is he spent more. He was fixated more on the special effects than he was the actual um story of the movie.
okay, that's fair. But yeah, it was better than that. So I look like the special effects in the Netflix version didn't bother me at all. And the story was just it's the story and the acting that bothered me. That's what really bothered me
Yeah.
because I got bored. I got bored, and if it was not for if you're hearing my voice, I kept watching it for you. That goes for you and Joe Alfonso. That goes for you too, because I was bored. I was so bored up until like episode 6 is when it picked up. Maybe episode, I don't know. I'll say 6. I was so bored, and then it picked up. But man, th-
Hey, I vetoed that. If you want to do anything for me, watch The Witcher.
The
I
Witcher.
knew you were gonna say that. I
Watch
knew
The
you were
Witcher,
gonna
bro.
say that.
You will not be disappointed with The Witcher.
You know what?
Although the I stopped watching just because Henry's not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
he's
I
like a
finished.
hardcore fan, dude. So like if he left, it's because he didn't agree with the direction of the story that they wanted to take it because he's a big dude on source material.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
it's not source material, he's not, which is kind of very exciting because if he ends up being Cyclops, he's going to be a bad, bad, bad Cyclops, like a
Oh,
dope Cyclops, and he's going to be true to the source material.
yes. Yeah, I don't. I hope they don't waste him on Captain Britain.
Hmm.
I mean, Captain Britain's a good character. He's
Hmm.
like he's
Yeah,
great,
he's
strong,
dope.
everything. But it's just like the same thing they did with Mystique. Mystique is
Hmm.
not a frontline character, but
Yeah.
because Jennifer Lawrence was such a big actress, like, oh, we got to
Hmm.
put her up front, and now the whole movie's about her. And it's like, no, 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 no,
Hmm.
no, don't do that to my X-Men.
Yeah, like in um Cyclops is naturally big, bro. Like
Yep.
if you look in the comics, he's a big dude. He's a buff dude. He's not a skinny dude like that, like the past Cyclops. He's a big dude. You know what I mean? He's got the hairstyle for it. He's big. Uh, he's a good actor. And I think, at first I would think, Captain Britain would be dope because I think, I always like it when they pull characters that no one really knows about or likes. But I think that's just an easy cop out because he'd be so perfect for that role. I'm more intrigued if he becomes like Scott Summer. I think that would be dope. And Alan Richardson could be Havoc, bro. I call it right now, bro. Make that full Havoc.
Reacher.
Uh-huh. He's Reacher,
He's-
Alan.
Dukes was
Yeah, I
looking
know.
like, who?
Okay, I
Oh,
wasn't
No,
sure.
I
You gave me a
I
look like I don't know who that is.
I just don't see it.
As
I
Havoc?
don't. Yeah,
Havoc's kind
Colossus.
of
They gotta
Havoc
get.
is
yeah.
not because that would make Havoc bigger than Cyclops, and Cyclops being bigger, I always saw Havoc as being a little bit skinnier.
Well, yeah, he's more in a good shape. Yeah, like a CrossFit kind of guy.
Right.
Yeah, so to your point, Colossus, I think he'd be a good Colossus.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Definitely. It's like
Or shoot,
what
he
they
could be a
should.
juggernaut.
Oh, that'd be sweet. But you know what'd be funny is if they were able to do Henry Cavill as Cyclops, and if they
Mhm.
needed a Havoc, bring in the guy that get us a new Superman.
Nah,
No,
no.
Oh, they look like brothers.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like his replacement, bro.
Yeah.
It's like if you're gonna if you're gonna replace him, James Gunn, can you get someone that's not like his identical twin?
Right.
Like you might as just cop. It's almost like you had something against Henry. You know what I mean? Because like everybody
Yeah.
loved him as Superman, and you went and got a clone that looked like him.
Like, well, Henry's not good enough, but let's get somebody who looks just like him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird.
So weird.
Yeah, I feel like James Gunn kind of wanted to establish his own
Oh yeah,
universe.
for sure.
So I don't agree with it, but I understand why he had to do it.
Yeah.
And the only people he's really keeping around are the things he already created, like
Mhm.
Peacemaker.
Well, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
When you go to prison, you got to jump on the biggest dog and take him out, so that way you look like the biggest dog. So that's why. See you later, Henry.
I wonder if it was just because of that whole The Rock thing. You know what I mean? Like, just probably ruined it for him as well, just because of who that guy is.
So far, if you're keeping track, we went over into X-Men territory, so we're on track there. And Joe's taking an opportunity to insult The Rock. We are on track, ladies and gentlemen. We have not missed a
NBC.
beat.
Yeah, we digress. I mean, like, it's that's what like there's not that much more to talk about the last Airbender. You know what I mean? It's like you can't even. It's just, what are you saying? It's like,
I got one thing that'll get us back on track a little bit, just a little bit. As far as the whole bending thing goes, right? You got firebenders; they can generate fire. All right. You've got airbenders; they can work with the wind around them. You got earthbenders. They got to have the earth around them. So if you lock them in a cage, they can't really do much. But poor waterbenders, if there's no water around, they're kind of screwed. I mean, yeah, in the cartoon later on, Katara was able to pull moisture from the air, but I mean, at the beginning, it's like, you got no water, you're out of luck, right? Firebenders definitely have the most advantage with all that because they could just fire. You know what I mean?
That's BS. And you're right, but
Yeah,
it's
it is.
BS.
Right.
yeah, you would think you'd
Because
be able to do the water because your body's like, how many percentage
Right.
of water is that? I don't, a lot
right.
of 80% or 90,
Right.
70, something like that, which you should be able to grab. Shoot, even freaking I can't think of her name, dude. Mara. Oh, Aquaman's girl. What's her name?
All
I
right.
can't remember.
Mira.
Yeah,
Sure,
it's
yeah.
Mara. Even Mara was like, loop. If she can draw water out of someone, like, come on, bro. Like, if I'm a waterbender, bro, and I need water, bro, like, let me just pee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, so
You know?
Soka, pee for me. Right.
Yeah, but I mean, but no.
But
I
Dukes,
would
you
just
don't.
be like, if you started that attack, bro, I'd just be like, I lose. I lose
Yeah.
because now you're using pee as missiles. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, bro.
I'm out. You
And then, like,
diarrhea? That's water.
if you're like in Alaska, bro, and you're in a earthbender, it's technically ice, not ground. So are
Yep.
you able to
Yeah.
like lift up the ice as if it's ground? You know what I mean? So it's
And Dukes, there's more to come too with this whole Avatar thing. Like later on, Katara learns that she can blood bend, right? She meets some witches. The witches
wait,
teach
isn't
them
that what's that show that you guys watch at and finish? Isn't that
Gen
the same
V.
thing?
Oh,
That's
Gen V,
Yeah,
yeah.
Gen V.
Yeah, she's a bloodbender, and
Yeah.
she's able to like control people. Like, so you got that going for her. Later on, what is it? What's her name? Joe, the blind girl.
Oh, I can't remember her name, dude. She's
She-
not in it though.
Yeah, she's an Earthbender. She should be in
Mhm.
next season if there's a next season.
That's what they're saying.
Toph. Her name's Toph.
There we go. Yeah,
she's
Toph.
so bad. She's such a badass. She's so good. But she's an Earthbender. She gets stuck in a metal prison, right? But I mean, what's metal, right? So she's the first one to figure out how to metal bend. So like she becomes whole different level. Speaking of,
What's funny is the fire bending. They all roll around in those battleships. I'm like, if I'm an earthbender, don't I just bring up the water from the thing and drown them?
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Or like, I think I hit up Joe. I was like,
Yeah.
so they cross the water to get to the waterbenders,
Yeah.
but none of the waterbenders just turned that water into ice so they couldn't get close enough.
Yeah.
Like if
Or
they just yeah.
do the water in the boat, tidal waves. Like
Right,
you can't,
tidal waves.
you all can't make tidal waves.
all those boats are built like icebreakers. I don't know if you've ever seen those icebreaker
Uh,
boats, but they're made to break through the ice. But
yeah,
yeah,
but you could
tidal
still
waves.
flip the boat. If you had a
Exactly.
tidal wave, flip the boat and it
That's
tips
what they
over. What are they gonna do?
Yep, day one. That's what they should have been doing. I'm not going to worry about this wall right now. I'm just gonna, we're going to drown these fools.
Yeah, exactly. Like how the leader, like, this is what we're gonna do for we're gonna all utilize our powers, do a tidal wave and flip over these boats and they're gonna be drowning.
Right. Or create a whirlpool,
Yeah.
or oh
Here,
dude.
I'll do the
Yeah.
avatar thing for you, bro. This is what we're gonna do, man. Can you waterbend? If not, go to the bench.
Go blow the horn.
Yeah.
All
Yeah. So the
right.
ending.
All right. So go ahead.
No, go ahead, Alfonso.
Oh, I was just gonna say, try to keep the Avatar conversation going because I could talk about X-Men all day. But if you had a bending ability, which one would you guys have?
I'm trying to figure out which one is most practical because, like, when you guys were talking about Aang being able to fly, I was like,
Mhm.
can he remove the oxygen from
Ooh,
around people?
Of course, bro.
why
That's
not?
airbending, but they're not
Okay,
gonna do that.
Take the
well,
air,
yeah,
take it
but
out of
then
their lungs.
if there's no oxygen,
Mhm.
then you cannot make fire.
Exactly.
So it's like based on the way that they use it, or it's kind of like, in my opinion, the Invisible Woman. Invisible Woman was always a mid character, just completely mid. And then one day someone was like, "Well, why can't she put a force field inside your lungs?" And now she's like so OP because she can put tiny little force fields like inside of people and basically kill them that way, or like put a force field inside of you and then expand it and like rip you
Yep.
from the inside.
Well,
So
she took down the Hulk. She put a bubble around his head. He couldn't breathe.
that's my point. Like at some point, and I feel like they did the same thing with like all the Omega level mutants.
Mhm.
They started off at one level, and then people said science. And suddenly they had all these additional powers because people figured out, like, oh, if you can freeze the air around you, then you can affect people differently, right? So
Right.
suddenly Bobby Drake is Omega level. Come on, bro. You've been sliding around on ice slides with Spider-Man and Firestar for years. Now all of a sudden you're Omega level?
Omega.
I guess I digress. Uh it's tough because I don't want to be an earthbender
Yeah.
because I don't care about earthbenders. It really comes down to fire or air because I feel like fire is the most destructive,
Yep.
but air has the most capabilities because you can turn air into like a bullet. Like you can compress air, so like basically use it like a bullet and you just shoot someone in the head.
Right.
Or there's so much force in your air that you go through someone's fire attack or their water attack or something like
You just
that.
redirect the air. Redirect the air that redirects the fire. I mean,
Yeah.
it's if it's moving, it's going through the air. You know, easy to
Yeah, so
fix.
I'm gonna say air. I would be an airbender.
How about you, Joe?
For me, it'd be fire. Let me explain. Because when you get good at fire, bro, you can turn it into electricity.
Shocking.
And so I'm about that, bro.
See, what's funny is I
I
was thinking
I
about.
could be a firebender and electrician. Come on, man.
Come on.
Come on, man.
You see, thinking about it personality wise, I would say, like looking at you guys, I would say like Dukes, you would be more of an earthbender. Joe would be a firebender. Me, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where I would land myself because of course you don't get a pick. It's just who you are. But um, I don't know. I mean, of course, what I'd want and what more my personality lends to, I would probably say I would lend more to. I wouldn't say airbender because I'm not light.
I would say water bending just
Yeah,
because they're more calm, relaxed, and see things differently.
right. You go with the
Like see
flow.
things that yeah, where like you can make change. I don't see you as an airbender or fire. Me obviously because you know your boy be spitting fire. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
Yeah. Hashtag like Joe said, little homie.
And Dukes, you got that strength, and strength is just solidified
Yeah.
with an
Nah,
earthbender.
like
You,
the crazy king. I feel like you guys are making statements based off of what the cartoon did.
yeah,
And I'm like, based on what I saw, like the waterbenders, they were haters. They were big. Like if you were
like
over,
Collins.
if you were an adult and you were a waterbender, you had no tact. You was just like, oh, you can't be a fighter because you're a woman. Oh, let me tell you how your mom died. Oh, let me tell you why you suck. Oh, where were you for the past 100 years? Like
Yeah.
every adult waterbender was just rude.
It's true.
Mhm.
And then I feel like the earthbenders were just really happy. Like they were just super happy. Like,
Down to earth.
yeah, right. Um, airbenders, they were useless apparently because they got gaffled in the first in the first episode. So I
Yeah.
don't know. And here's what I don't understand, right? Now, granted, I'm not necessarily a scientist and I haven't looked into it. There was a point where Adzula did have that blue spark, and I was like, what's that about? And then at
Mhm.
the end, obviously, she becomes an electricity bender, which is
Mhm.
interesting because as far as I know, no one else had that ability.
Right.
So, she achieved a new form, but I don't know how fire turns into electricity.
Well, in this too, like they're showing her fire is actually blue, so she has a blue flame, which is hotter than a red flame, right? And again, how it gets to electricity, I'm not sure, but she did have a blue flame.
Alan was like this. You're really gonna explain to me how fire turns to electricity?
No. I always say it's the blue flame. Blue flame burns hotter. It's a law.
All I know is all this is fictitious,
Oh yeah,
and through the cartoon, fire is able to become electricity. So I'm gonna go with that, and I'm gonna be a firebender and have electricity.
but
That's
how
cool.
but how does paper beat rock?
Dude, another thing, how does the earthbenders lose, bro? Can't you just make ground the highest you could ever make it, and fire is not gonna take down the ground?
Yeah. Didn't they have like a spy or something?
Yeah,
But I I feel like when the firebenders would come along, people would just give up
yeah, because
every
it's hot.
single time. Like in the scene where the earthbenders are basically snuck up on by the firebenders, it's like they're just like, "Oh, I guess we lost." Okay. It's like the only earthbenders can't be in that one room, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, you would just make the fire go up like this, and then I would make a turn and knock him out. Like, I
Yeah.
Right.
don't understand, like, I don't get it. Whatever. I
Yeah.
digress.
What you got to do is have a firebender and an earthbender hanging out together, and they can create lava, right?
Or glass.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. It's almost like that science as opposed to the electricity. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And Dukes, the other thing you're missing too is, oh man, the earthbender named the Boulder, who speaks about himself in the third person. You haven't met him yet, but he's in the cartoon. He's like, the
Mhm.
boulder is going to smash you. It's like kind of a play on the rock, I guess.
That's cool.
It's
I
not fun.
mean, if he's coming later, that's great. I felt like the king, like the relationship between the king of the earthbenders and Aang was kind of rushed.
Yeah.
Like it
Mhm.
made sense, but it was just like all of a sudden it's like flip, I'm mad, then flip, I'm not because Aang convinces me. I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
That was definitely done way better in the cartoon because
Yeah.
Boomy didn't tell him right off the bat that he was Boomy.
Mhm.
Like he made
Yeah.
him go through all these trials. Like, oh, you want my help? You got to do this. You got to be able to do this. You got to, and then he made him learn his lessons. And then at the very end,
Mhm.
he's like, "It's me," or whatever he
Yeah.
did it, Mario.
It's a me. It's a Mario.
Whoop.
Yeah. So
Hey,
so go ahead, Alfonso.
oh, I'm sorry. I just want to talk about Uncle Iroh before we go anywhere else because Uncle Iroh's always been my favorite character. And I think he was really done justice by your boy from The Mandalorian. Oh my gosh, what is his name? You guys know the actor's name?
No, but he's a dope dude, the X-Wing pilot. He's always
Yes.
Yeah.
showing up. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
He did
Have
good.
you-
I like him. But he's a
have
good
you-
actor though.
He's such a
Yeah.
good actor. If you guys ever get a chance, watch Kim's Convenience on Netflix. So good. He plays a dad of a Korean market, and he goes by Appa, which is the Korean word for I guess father. But it's
Mhm.
cool because there's an Appa in Avatar as well. So I got a little confusing for me.
He's a good actor. I like Daniel Kim,
Oh
who
yeah.
was the king and everything he
He's
did.
he's a good actor too.
Yeah. I felt like the adult actors were good,
Mhm.
but unfortunately the show focused on the kids and they weren't good. I really like the uncle. Like the uncle and the relationship with him and Zuko.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I wanted to see more of that and less
Yes.
of Aang.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where they had to recognize that during the
Mhm.
course of filming the show. Like, wow, these guys really have chemistry. This is a good story.
Mhm.
Zuko is having more of a character development
Right.
than Aang is. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, they were like, but this is what the show's about.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so they were kind of stuck. But that's the show I want to see.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Here's a
let me ask you guys, Alfonso, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I keep coming up with things, but here's a bit of trivia for you. There's two people in this show that were in Lost. You both watched Lost, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Do you know which two people were in Lost?
Daniel Kim
Right.
and the guy who was the kind of the trader on the boat.
Not the trader on the boat, but the guy who was on land and then he later became an admiral.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, because that surprised me because it's like, oh, that's right. Because I looked him up and I'm like, oh, that's that guy from Lost. I was
Yeah.
excited about that. It's like 42 degrees is Kevin Bacon or whatever.
So let's get to this question about the end of the show because you guys have seen it. I feel like if this show never came on again, this would be a really bad ending. Like it just it didn't even there was no conclusion, there was no finality to the show. It wasn't even like Aang achieved anything. It was just like the story of Aang. This is what he's doing. He's going on an adventure. Uh it's like Katara's going on an adventure. Saki's meeting ladies and then has to leave them. It's like they did literally the show did not do anything. It wasn't like Aang learned any like additional abilities. Like, oh, I can turn into an avatar, but I'm not learning the other bending skills. I just for the final episode, it was like Joe says, the final episode was like a Nicolas Cage movie. I think it was The Retirement Plan was the last one I watched. Where at the end of the movie you're like, so what are they going to do?
He goes off in a
Is
boat, remember?
yeah, is it going to be a secret agent? I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on, but
Yeah.
that's what I felt like. I felt like, wow, they really didn't do anything. That's like they had all these little adventures, but it didn't add up to anything. It wasn't even a complete story for the first season. So my question to you guys is: final episode, were you guys left satisfied, or did it just annoy you as much as it did me? Alfonso,
Um,
no, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
for me, I was satisfied because it was over. So like, un- unlike Lupe Fiasco, bro, the show must not go on. It should just end right there, and I'd be okay with it. Like, I don't think I need a season two. I think if I want to watch something that's better acting and more story driven, I'm just gonna rewatch the cartoon.
Wow, that's pretty harsh. Alfonso, can you throw some positivity in this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't completely satisfied with the ending. I mean, yeah, definitely not a cliffhanger. It does, it could make you want a little bit more. But what I really liked about this show is the fact that I always wanted to see what they were going to do or how they were going to do it. So I'm still excited about that. What are they going to do and how are they going to deal with it? Because knowing the source material, I want to see what's to come.
Okay. Every man's entitled to his opinion and every man's entitled to agree to disagree. But here's what I don't understand. They did a bad job. It's like, oh, I'd like to see what they're going to do with this. They did a bad job with something that you like. It's it's like you sat down and watch how they're going to do, and they did a bad job, and yet you're still like, well, it's better than never knowing. But is it really?
Yeah. Well, it's
Is
still
it?
better than Superman's fake disappearance of his mustache. So
And remember, I wasn't disappointed, so that's why I'm excited to see.
I wasn't I can't be disappointed. I was just the final episode is what threw me into a tizzy because to watch a show and like you know how it always says in like next episode,
Right.
and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what's wrong with my Netflix? It's not
Yeah.
showing the next episode because this
Right.
can't be the way that it ends. But
Right.
it was.
And
Other
you're
than
fast
that, it was
forwarding to the ending to see if there's a secret the secret
yeah.
Dude, this is
Yeah.
the first time on Netflix that I actually saw something come up at the end that said no more episodes after this. Like normally it's like next episode and then a little block, right? This one said
Yeah.
no, this is the last episode or something like that.
Alan doesn't see that. He's looking at his phone probably when that little thing popped up.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah.
It probably was. Because even the ending just came out of nowhere. It's
Mhm.
like they did all this stuff, and then he was like, oh,
Mhm.
you know, all this stuff that you guys sat through for 8
Yeah.
episodes. That was a diversion.
Hmm.
So it was a diversion with my time? Like with
Yeah.
my because I was invested for like
Mhm.
7.5 hours too.
Yeah. Again, what makes One Piece that's done so well
Mm,
is at the end of One Piece, you didn't think about that.
right.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to watch the anime to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Where this one at the end, they just assume that everyone's watched the cartoon. So it's already implied what's gonna happen next. But if you never watched the cartoon, you're gonna be like you, Alan, like, well,
Yeah.
where does this go from here?
Yeah. And you know, for me, I have to say that if you watch the cartoon, you're disappointed because they didn't do your except Alfonso. Like Joe says, except Alfonso. So
Yeah.
if you watch the cartoon, you're disappointed because they're not respecting and using the source material
Mhm.
correctly. If you didn't watch the cartoon like me, you're confused because everything jumps around so much and characters act in a certain way that just doesn't make sense. But
Mhm.
if you watch the cartoon, then you're like, oh, well, this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened. And that's why they acted that way. So it's one of those things where no matter how they were trying to do it or who they were making the show for, they missed the mark either way.
Mhm.
And so with that, we have come to the end of this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. Until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds redefined. Booyah!